everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draft a sleeve based on the method that is taught by Dennic Chunman Lo in his book Pattern Cutting. It is a great method and it's used a lot in the industry. It's one that does require you to have a little bit of knowledge about sleeves, so you need to understand a few things about how they work and why they have to be a certain way. There is another video that I explain that in. It's video 1 in this video series. So if you haven't watched that, pop along and watch that first before you do this one, because you're going to need some of the information in that video to understand why we do certain things here. I've also done another video that compares this method to the method that is taught by Winifred Aldrich in her book Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear. So go and have a look at that as well after you've done this. Just like in the video where I show you to draft using Winifred Aldrich's method, I'm going to be drafting a sleeve for my fitted bodice block today. So this is my basic bodice block. There are a couple of things we need to know or kind of keep in mind before we start actually drafting. The first one is that we actually need to work out our sleeve head height for ourselves here. Dennic does give us a little bit of help, let's say, to be able to do this. He gives us some guidelines, and he starts by breaking down sleeve head height into 3 categories. So low, medium, and high. Which one you pick depends on your fit of your garment and how you want that to be and how you want your sleeve to hang. Again, a little bit more about this in video number 1 of the video series, so I'm not going to cover it again. But he also gives us some formulas to help us work out our sleeve head height based on our armhole length. So he says for a medium sleeve head height, what you need to do is measure your armhole, so your total armhole, and then divide it by 4. And then that will give you your sleeve head height. For a high sleeve head, you take your total armhole measurement, you divide it by 4, and then you plus between 4 to 6 centimeters. So I'm going to use 5 for this method, just because 5 is the midpoint and it gives us an easy starting point. For a low sleeve head height, you're going to take your total armhole measurement, divide it by 4, and then you're going to minus between 4 to 6 centimeters. Again, I normally use 5 because it's in between. It gives you a starting point, because remember that when we draft like this, it is really just a starting point. You still always need to twirl it up, fit it, and amend it. It's probably not going to be perfect first time round. You are also going to need to know your bicep measurement. So my bicep measurement is 27 centimeters. We like to have between 4 to 5 centimeters of body ease in our bicep. So if my body measurement is 27 centimeters, then my garment measurement is going to have to be between 31 to 32 centimeters. All I've done there is I've plussed 4 to 5 centimeters to 27. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to work out our sleeve head height. So let's think about the fit of this garment. This is my fitted basic block. It's the most fitted I would ever go, and my shoulder point sits exactly on my shoulder point. And I want my sleeve to hang nice and straight down my body. I don't want it to sit at an angle, and I don't want any weird wrinkles or anything around. So that means I'm going to go for a high sleeve head height. So let's take our total armhole measurement and let's divide it by 4. So my front armhole is 21.2 plus my back armhole, which is 21.3. Divide that by 4 gives me 10.6 plus 5 centimeters, because we can plus between 4 to 6. I'm going to go for the middle and put 5 on there. That gives me 15.6. So that is going to be my sleeve head height. Remember, my bicep needs to be between 31 and 32 centimeters. Great, let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line down the middle of our page. Then at the top of that line, we're going to square a little line, roughly about 5 centimeters either side. From the top of that line, we're going to measure down our sleeve head height and make a little mark. So remember I said my sleeve head height is going to be 15.6. So I measure down 15.6, make a little mark there. And then I'm going to square a line across my page there as well. maximum width of my ruler. So this line here is the top of our sleeve, and this line here is our bicep line. This is going to be the back of our sleeve, and this is going to be the front of our sleeve. The next step is to draw a straight line equal to the front of your armhole and equal to the back of your armhole. So we're going from our bicep up to the top of our sleeve. The reason that Dennic says to do it equal to our armhole is because when we draw a straight line, it's going to be shorter than when we draw the curved line for our sleeve head. If we just do our straight line equal to our armhole, then when we draw our curved line in, we're going to get some ease in there as well, which is nice. So we're going to gain a little bit of measurement in there, which is what we want really. So again, my front armhole was 21.2 centimeters, and that's my curved armhole here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 on my ruler at my sleeve head, and then I'm going to rotate my ruler, and actually I'm going to use a different ruler because you can't see anything there, it's a bit worn away. So I'm going to put 0 on my ruler here, and then I'm going to rotate it until 21.2 hits my bicep line. Then I'm going to do the same at the back. So I'm going to put 0 on my ruler at my sleeve head, the top of my sleeve head, and then I'm going to rotate my ruler until 21.3, because that's the measurement of my back armhole, hits my bicep line here. So these points here are going to be my underarm points now. Let's double check the measurement of our bicep, because that controls the measurement of our bicep. So here I'm getting 28.6, which is significantly smaller than what we actually need it to be. So we're getting 28.6, and we need it to be a minimum of 31 centimeters. Any tighter and it's going to fit on your arm, but you won't really be able to move. So this is where you really need to understand this relationship here between the sleeve head height, your bicep measurement, and the total measurement of your sleeve head. If we want to increase our bicep measurement, but keep our total measurement of our sleeve head the same, that means that our sleeve head height is going to have to decrease. Again, if you don't follow me here, you can check out the video that's number 1 on this little video series, and that'll tell you a little bit more about this relationship. So let's first work out how much more we actually need to add into our bicep here. So my measurement that I currently have is 28.6, and the measurement that I want is 31 centimeters minimum. So if I take 31 and I minus 28.6, that is going to give me 2.4. So 2.4 is how much we need to add in here minimum. So let's add it equally to front and back. So 2.4 divided by 2 is 1.2. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to either underarm point. We're going to measure 1.2 away from it and make little marks. These are going to be our new underarm points. So we said that we still want our sleeve head measurement, so the measurement of the curved line, to be exactly the same. So we still need our new line that we're going to draw in to be 21.2 for our front. But this measurement here is going to have to change. So the sleeve head height here is going to get lower. So let's see what happens if we put 21.2 at our new underarm point here, and then rotate our ruler until 0 hits our center line here. So that's going to be our new front sleeve head guideline. Let's measure that sleeve head height. I'm now getting 14.4. Not great, not ideal, but gives us a starting point, and we're going to have to trial it and see what we can do about that. Let's do the same thing for the back. So I'm going to put 0 here at my underarm point, and then I'm going to rotate my ruler until 21.3 hits my line there. In theory, it should match with the front intersection point there because you've moved your points out the same amount. Cool, so let's double check that measurement again. So that's bang on 31, fantastic, that's what we want. And now let's just rub out that original line because we don't really need that anymore. Okay, so that's the start of our sleeve head. Now we're going to make a mark halfway along each line. So remember we said the measurement of this line is 21.2. So that means that our midpoint is going to be 21.2 divided by 2, which gives us 10.6. So I'm going to go to my sleeve head point here, and I'm going to measure down 10.6 and make a little mark. Then the same thing on the back. So our measurement for the back was 21.3, so that means our midpoint is going to be 10.65, so let's round that up to 10.7. So now we can start drawing our sleeve head curve. What we want to do first is to go up to our sleeve head point here, or our shoulder point, and just square ourselves a guideline. So basically what we did at our first step there, we're just doing it because remember we lowered that down slightly. This is where it becomes a bit tricky as well if you aren't used to drafting sleeves. If you don't know what you like your sleeve heads to look like, it can be a bit tricky because there's no guidelines here on how far you curve under and how far you curve up. But let's start from the back and we'll work our way towards the front. So first of all, I'm going to draw a curve curving underneath or into my triangle from my underarm point here to my notch that I drew there. And again, I'm just going to play around until I find a curve that I know I like the look of, really, just from experience. Then we want to draw a curve going outside of our triangle, so above the line from our notch up to our shoulder point. And you want it to be a nice smooth line. You don't want any corners here. You want it to carry on perfectly from your line that you drew here, your first line that went under. Then let's do the front. So I'm going to start by doing my underneath curve first. And then I'm going to do my front curve here. So I know from experience that I like my curve to be higher than my straight line here than I do at the back. So almost like my distance from line to line here is about a centimeter, maybe a bit more, 1.2. My distance from line to here, line to curved line here is going to be a bit more, roughly about 2 centimeters. So I'm going to do that by eye, but again, we want it to be a really nice smooth line going from the first part of our curve here into our top section there, and we don't again want any corners here at the top because this needs to be a nice smooth intersection here too. I'm going to go with something like that. So you can see this distance is greater than this distance here. Just a little tip. What we need to do now is mark in our underarm seams. I'm going to do mine 15 centimeters long. It's a short sleeve, but purely because I need this to fit into my camera. It's for demo purposes, but you can also do this with a long sleeve. You just literally make this line a little bit longer for yourself. If you're not sure how long you want your underarm seams to be, you can also measure from your sleeve head here. If you've got your total sleeve length, you can measure from there, measure down, make a mark and square across, and then draw in your underarm points that way too. Either way works really fine. Then I'm going to mark in my hem by joining my 2 lines up there. And that gives me my basic sleeve. So let's really quickly check a couple of things. So let's measure our front armhole, front sleeve head curve, and check that it definitely fits into our front armhole there. And I'm going to measure each section. So I'm getting 11.6 for my top section here, and then my lower section, so that's from my notch to my underarm point, I'm getting 11. So let's measure the same thing here. So for my lower section, I'm getting 10.9, and then my upper section, again 10.9. So then let's add them up and compare it to our armhole. So 10.9 plus 10.9 is 21.8. And then our front one is 11.6 plus 11, just done on my head, 22.6. So remember our back armhole measurement is 21.3, so that gives us 0.5 centimeters of ease at the back. And then our front measurement was 21.2, 2, so that gives us 1.4 centimeters of ease at the front. So then my total ease is 1.9 centimeters, which I'm quite happy with. For a cotton, that would be perfect. You could add more ease in there if you've got a more pliable fabric that you can ease in a bit easier. So something like a viscose crepe or a wool would, you could add on more. Our notch here and here needs to be marked on our bodice pattern as well so that they relate. And you want to keep all of your ease up here. So these measurements here need to be the same as the lower sections that you've marked on your block. So I would measure from here all the way up 11 centimeters and mark on a notch, and I do the same on my back armhole as well. What you need to do now is trace this off and toile it. You also need to check your run before you toile it up, obviously. Check your run here. And then you also just want to check a couple of things back on your sleeve, but we can't do that until we've traced it off. So for now, I'll leave it here and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you want to see more, then you can head on over to my website, and don't forget to watch the other videos in this video series. There's loads of information packed into them and they are pretty useful. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!